Hey everybody, so as you can plainly see, it is now finally time for the third part of my work in progress video for the Master Grade Ez-8. And so I figure I'll just get right into it and show you what I got done so far on the body. Now pretty much it is all finished in terms of construction. There is very little about this kit that still needs to be built per se, but the main body is completely constructed right now. So this is basically how it looks from a distance. And then I'll also try to bring it in for some detail shots. As you remember, in the first part of the work in progress, I detailed up the two chest panel sections. I also detailed the gray in there, and I did that and all the other grays of that same color in this Tamiya German gray, if it'll focus. Focus. There. So I did that to make things look as close as possible to the inner frame. It's not exact, but it's as close as I managed to get. And so then in addition to all that, I don't know if I showed it in another part or not, but I also detailed this front panel part to the chest, right in front of the cockpit, which I really like the look of because it makes it look like additional, super hard metallic substances or whatever, paneling, put right there to protect the pilot. And so I think that works. And it sets it apart from the blue-green teal color that the rest of the body would be in. Anyway, moving on. Did a little detailing on the top of the shoulders. All the little tick marks and all that are done with the same gray color as the rest of the body. And additionally, as you can see on the inside of the shoulder armor, I did that in that gray as well, and even did the bottom of the skirt armors in that color. What else? We've got the opening panels on the legs here. They're a little tricky, but beam sabers go in there. This is actually a plastic piece on the inside here, so that came colored properly, as did the housing here. So that was nice. Some detailing here, there. If you lift up the knee armor, I got a little paneling under there that I colored gray, so that once it's closed, you got a nice sort of effect like that, which looks nice. Showed all this already in other parts, but I figure I might as well one more time. Moving on, most of the back stuff here is pretty new, and I really like what I did here with this slide out part. This is basically touched up with a bit of this color. It's called metallic pewter by the brand you see here. At any rate, if you wanted to do it, you could probably just use some generic gunmetal color. Maybe Tamiya would work. At any rate, what I did is I just dry brushed it on there, and I think it really works well with the sort of cross X detailing and all the other things. I think it just pops, kind of. Makes it look like sort of rough iron. And I did it for the sections in here, with the clamps in there, and just anywhere there were hinges or other spots that showed through. They were pretty much all the same pieces, and they all went together, so it was not too hard. Everything just sort of showed through where it's supposed to. And also, as you can sort of see there, did the thrusters. I mean, I did that in the first part, but never hurts to see it again. And back of the head I did with the gray and that neon red. And for the head, the eyes, and all that, with the eyes I did this neon red, and I also top coated it with Future Floor polish from Pledge. Makes a nice gloss top coat. Did that for the forehead camera as well, and on the back. Now, one thing with this antenna is that the bottom section of it that actually attaches to the head, that is actually supposed to be the same color as the head. And since I didn't have that color, and I kind of like the look of it as it is, I just decided to leave it alone. And you may notice there's no pilot figure in there, because I figure I'm not in the mood to paint that. And if I'm not going to, the last thing you want to see after all this nice detail when you open everything up is some unpainted, crappy looking pilot figure just sitting in there. So I figure this will just look like an unpiloted unit just sitting there. But whatever. Anyway, that's about how the body is for now. I like how it's turned out so far. I'm not done with the kit though, because there's a few things I'm still planning on doing. Those plans may fall through, but at any rate, I definitely want to add the 8th MS Team insignias to the chest and to the shield, which is kind of packed away right now. But anyway, I do want to do that. I don't know about any other decaling, because I'm not big into decals. Something I am thinking about is maybe doing, as I've said in other parts, a little bit of dry brush around the edges to sort of roughen things up just a little bit, make it look like it isn't, you know, war-beaten, but like it's been running through some of the dirt a little bit, so it's like it's used, and more befitting to the show and how it's sort of supposed to look. I've never tried this, and I'm not entirely sure how well it would go, so it's kind of going to be touch and go and sort of see how it works. But that's at least a plan, and once everything like that is done, once I figure I'm finished with this, then what I am going to do, no matter what, is take it outside and airbrush a dull coat onto this, so that at bare minimum we take away the plasticky sheen, which clashes with a lot of the dull colors like the German gray or even the metallics. But I can't do that right now because I have no indoor airbrush setup, and I have no way of actually setting one up in my own home. It's just not even an option, which sucks. But at the moment, the plan is basically just to wait for the weather to improve and do what I can in the meantime in terms of other details and whatever else, and the, you know, the decals and whatever. But anyway, that isn't everything I've done. There's a few other things. First of all, we have a few hands here. Not a big deal, but one thing I did do with them is paint the square here in the German gray. Figured the hands needed a little detail, and I think they look okay. Did that for all four here. I may use them, I might not, I'm not sure. They certainly look better than the posable hands, which also have that gray detailing, by the way. But if this guy's going to be holding weapons anyway, might not make much sense to bother changing them. So, I don't know. And speaking of weapons, here's the beam rifle again, as shown from the second part. But what I did since then is I added that, it's not metallic green, neon green on the scope there, and then to that I added this Pledge Future Shine top coat to it, and this turned out really nice. The surface of that was pretty smooth and paint went on really nice, and then the top coat just made it look like glass. And actually this is just bare gray plastic that I put this on with a little primer underneath. It's not a clear part. So this turned out pretty good, all things considered. I really like that. I may do a little bit of detailing on this here or there. I want to be careful about it though, because with all this white, it's actually a French light blue-gray from Testors, and I had to airbrush that after masking off all this gray stuff with blue tack, even inside there, and that took a while. The results were worth it, but it's not something I want to have to redo if I screw it up, so I don't know what kind of detailing I'll do, but I'll have to be careful about it either way. And something to notice as we're looking here is you can sort of see now the difference in color between the hand, which is the color of plastic the EZA comes in, and this gray color, which would serve as a color for the original ground type Gundam were I to build and paint one of my own. If you watch the show, you see this difference in color between the mobile suit and its gear and weaponry, including the shield, which I, again, don't have with me. But at any rate, this is just something I wanted to reflect in the model too, so. Anyway, moving on. One last thing would be the bazooka here. I haven't done too much to it, but what I've done took a little bit of time to do, excluding this at least. Back here I did a little detailing with the metallic pewter, so that turned out okay on that grilling in there. Here we have this sliding shoulder rest mechanism. It kind of wobbles, but once it's forward it locks pretty well. But it seems to work best once it's pushed back. The ammo clip comes out. Fits in alright. And the barrel sections are meant to come apart for storing all the individual components in that main backpack carrying case thing. And they fit back together pretty easily, except they're a tad wobbly. But at least if you squeeze them together well enough, they stay. So there's no issue with that. But the main thing I did here, what took the most time, were these scopes here, in the red and the green. And this took the longest time because I don't know that they were actually supposed to be intended as scopes. And I wish this camera would focus. But at any rate, as I put the two halves of this thing all together, it seemed as if it was not really intended to be painted as I've done, because there was like this big panel line running right through the middle of it, and it seemed intentional. It wasn't like a regular thin seam line. It seemed as if there were an intentional gap set between the two halves, which I didn't like. So basically I went in with a hobby knife and sort of scratched that all smooth as much as I could for both of them, it turned out. And when I did that, I put on a little bit of neon red and green, respectively, and then top-coated it with the pledge. And I can't say that this turned out nearly as good as the one in the beam rifle, but I still kind of like the effect. Because it's almost like you've got two sensors here for the rockets, like one is for maybe infrared, and then the other one is an optical sensor, or something. Or one sensor is a supplement to the other, or something like that. I don't know, but I figured the dual color scopes thing on the one weapon might be kind of cool, and I think it turned out alright. And the red works, especially with the Ez-8 because its eyes are red, so I think that fits. Anyway, I may do some additional detailing here or there on that. I don't know what yet, but either way, just like the main body here, it's going to have to get a dull coat eventually. So, again, I'll have to do that once the weather improves. And really then, besides that, I don't think there's too much else to say or do right now. As I'd said, maybe I'll try doing some dry brush detailing on the body. But I have to get a little practice and see how practical it is. But then whatever I do, yes, later then I'll go top coat it, get rid of that plastic shine, and then I think we'll have a finished kit. So anyway, yeah, I guess that's it for now then. Guess there's nothing else to say, so I'll quit rambling. And so until the next time, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.